Crystal Cave by Mary Stewart, Book 4, The Red Dragon, 2. While Ambrosius was attacking Doward, I was still in Maradunum, having parted from Gorlois on the ride south, and seen him on my way to meet my father. It happened this way. All through that first night we rode hard, but there was no sign of pursuit. So at sunup we drew off the road and rested, waiting for Gorlois's men to come up with us. This they did during the morning, having been able, in the near panic at Dinas Brennan, to slip away unobserved. They confirmed what Gorlois had already suggested to me, that Vortigern would head not for his own fortress of Caer Gwent, but for Doward. And he was moving, they said, by the eastbound road through Caer Gai toward Bravonium. Once past Tomini Mur, there was no danger that we would be overtaken. So we rode on, a troop now about 20 strong, but going easily. My mother, with her escort of fighting men, was less than a day ahead of us, and her party, with the litters, would be much slower than we were. We had no wish to catch up with them, and perhaps force a fight which might endanger the women. It was certain, said Gorlois to me, that the latter would be delivered safely to Maradunum. But, he added in his sharp, gruff way, we shall meet the escort on their way back. For come back they will. They cannot know the king is moving east, and every man less for Vortigern is another for your father. We'll get news to Bremia, and camp beyond to wait for them. Bremia was nothing but a cluster of stone huts, smelling of peat smoke and dung, black doorways curtained from wind and rain, with hides or sacking round which peered scared eyes of women and children. No men appeared, even when we drew rein in the midst of the place, and curs ran yapping round the horses' heels. This puzzled us till, knowing the dialect, I called out to the eyes behind the nearest curtain to reassure the people and ask for news. They came out then, women, children, and 1 or 2 old men, crowding eagerly around us and ready to talk. The first piece of news was that my mother's party had been there the previous day and night, leaving only that morning at the princess's insistence. She had been taken ill, they told me, and had stayed for half the day and the night in the headman's house, where she was cared for. Her women had tried to persuade her to turn aside for a monastic settlement in the hills nearby, where she might rest, but she had refused, and it seemed better in the morning, so the party had ridden. It had been a chill, said the headman's wife. The lady had been feverish and coughing a little, but she had seemed so much better next morning, and Maradunum was not more than a day's ride. They had thought it better to let her do as she desired. I eyed the squalid huts, thinking that indeed the dangers of a few more hours in the litter might be less than such miserable shelter in Bremia. So thanked the woman for her kindness, and asked where her man had gone. And to that she told me all the men had gone to join Ambrosius. She mistook my look of surprise. Did you not know? There was a prophet at Dinas Brennan who said the red dragon would come. The princess told me herself, and you could see the soldiers were afraid, and now he has landed. He is here. How can you know? I asked her. We met no messenger. She looked at me as if I were crazed or stupid. Had I not seen the fire drake? The whole village knew this. For the portent, after the prophet had spoken so, the men had armed themselves and had gone that very day. If the soldiers came back, the women and children would take to the hills. But everyone knew that Ambrosius could move more swiftly than the wind, and they were not afraid. I let her run on while I translated for Gorlois. Our eyes met with the same thought. We thanked the woman again, gave her what was due for her care of my mother, and rode after the men of Bremia. South of the village, the road divides, the main way turning southeast past the gold mine, and then through the hills and deep valleys to the broad valley of the Wye, whence it is easy riding to the Severn crossing, and the southwest. The other minor road goes straight south, a day's ride to Maradunum. I had decided that in any case I would follow my mother south and talk to her before I rejoined Ambrosius. Now the news of her illness made this imperative. Gorlois would ride straight to meet Ambrosius and give him the news of Vortigern's movements. At the fork where our ways parted, we came to the villagers. They had heard us coming and taken cover. The place was all rocks and bushes. But not soon enough. The gusty wind must have hidden our approach from them till we were almost on them. The men were out of sight, but one of their miserable pack-donkeys was not, and stones were still rolling on the scree. It was Bremia all over. We halted, and I called out into the windy silence. This time I told them who I was, and in a moment it seemed the roadside was bristling with men. They came crowding round our horses, showing their teeth and brandishing a peculiar assortment of weapons, ranging from a bent Roman sword to a stone spearhead bound on a hay-rake. They told the same story as their women. They had heard the prophecy, and they had seen the portent. They were marching south to join Ambrosius, and every man in the west would soon be with them. Their spirit was high, and their condition pitiful. It was lucky we had a chance to help them. "Speak to them," said Gorlois to me. "Tell them, if they wait another day here with us, they shall have weapons and horses. They have picked the right place for an ambush, as who should know better than they?" I told them that it was the Duke of Cornwall, that this was the Duke of Cornwall and a great leader, and that if they would wait a day for us, we would see they got weapons and horses. "For Vortigern's men will come back this way," I told them. They are not to know that the High King is already fleeing eastwards. They will come back by this road, so we will wait for them here, and you will be wise to wait with us." So we waited. The escort must have stayed rather longer than need be at Maradunum, and after that cold camp ride, who could blame them? But toward dusk of the second day they came back, riding at ease, thinking maybe of a night's shelter at Bremia. We took them nicely by surprise, and fought a bloody and very unpleasant little action. One roadside skirmish is very like another. This one differed only from the usual in being better generalled and more eccentrically equipped. But we had the advantages both of numbers and of surprise, and did what we had set out to do, robbed Vortigern of 20 men, for the loss of only 3 of our own and a few cuts. I came out of it more credibly than I would have believed possible, killing the man I had picked out before the fighting swept over and past me, and another knocked me off my horse and would possibly have killed me if Cadel had not parried the stroke, and killed the fellow himself. It was quickly over. We buried our own dead and left the rest for kites, after we had stripped them of their arms. We had taken care not to harm the horses, and when next morning Gorlois said farewell and led his new troops southeast, every man had a horse and a good weapon of some kind. Cadel and I turned south for Maradunum and reached it by early evening. The first person I saw as we rode down the streets toward St. Peter's was my cousin Dinius. We came on him suddenly at a corner, and he jumped a foot and went white. I suppose rumors had been running like wildfire through the town ever since the escort had brought my mother back without me. "Merlin! I thought... "Well met, cousin. I was coming to look for you." He said quickly, "Look, I swear I had no idea who those men were." "I know that. What happened wasn't your fault." "That isn't why I was looking for you." "And I was drunk. You know that. But even if I had guessed who they were, how was I to know they'd take you up on a thing like that? I'd heard rumors of what they were looking for, I admit, but I swear it never entered my head." "I said it wasn't your fault, and I'm back here again safely, aren't I? All's well that ends well. Leave it, Dinius. That wasn't what I wanted to talk to you about." But he persisted. "I took the money, didn't I? You saw." "And if you did, you didn't give information for the money. You took it afterwards. It's different to my mind. If Vortigern likes to throw his money away, then by all means rob him of it. Forget it, I tell you. Have you news of my mother?" "I've just come from there. She's ill, did you know?" I got news on my way south, I said. What's the matter with her? How bad? A chill, they told me, but they say she's on the mend. I thought myself she still looked poor enough. But she was fatigued with the journey and anxious about you. What did Vortigern want you for in the end? To kill me, I said briefly. He stared and began to stutter. In God's name, Merlin, I know you and I have never been... That is, there have been times... He stopped, and I heard him swallow. I don't sell my kinsman, you know. I told you, I believed you. Forget it. It was nothing to do with you. Some nonsense of his soothsayers. But, as I said, here I am safe and sound. Your mother said nothing about it. She didn't know. Do you think she'd have let him send her tamely home if she knew what he meant to do? The men who brought her home, they knew. You can be sure of that. So they didn't let it out to her. It seems not, said Dineas, but I'm glad of that. I'm hoping to get to see her soon, this time in daylight. Then you're in danger. Then you're in no danger now from Vortigern. I would be, I suppose, I said, if the place was still full of his men, but I was told at the gate that they've cleared out to join him. That's so. Some rode north and some east to Caer Gwent. You've heard the news, then? What news? Though there was nobody else in the street, he looked over his shoulder in the old furtive way. I slid down out of the saddle and threw the reins to Cadel. What news? I repeated. Ambrosius, he said softly. He's landed in the southwest, they say, and marching north. A ship brought the story yesterday, and Vortigern's men started moving out straight away. But if you've just ridden in from the north, surely you'd meet them. 2 companies this morning, but we saw them in good time and got off the road. We met my mother's escort the day before at the crossways. Met? He looked startled. But if they knew Vortigern wanted you dead... They'd have known I had no business riding south and cut me down. Exactly. So we cut them down instead. Oh, don't look at me like that. It wasn't magicians' work, only soldiers. We fell in with some Welsh who were on their way to join Ambrosius, and we ambushed Vortigern's troop and cut them up. The Welsh knew already. The prophecy, was it? I saw the whites of his eyes in the dusk. I'd heard about that. The place is buzzing with it. The troops told us. They said you'd showed some kind of great lake under the crag. It was the place we stopped at years ago. I'll swear there was no sign of any lake then. But there was this lake of water with dragons lying in it under the foundations of the tower. Is it true? That I showed them a lake? Yes. But the dragons, what were they? I said slowly, dragons. Something conjured out of nothing for them to see, since without seeing they would not listen, let alone believe. There was a little silence, then he said, with fear in his voice, And it was magic that showed you Ambrosius was coming? Yes and no, I smiled. I knew he was coming, but not why. It was the magic that told me he was actually on his way. He was staring again. You knew he was coming? Then you did have tidings in Cornwall. You might have told me. Why? I'd have joined him. I looked at him for a moment, measuring. You can still join him, you and your other friends who fought with Vortimir. What about Vortimir's brother? Pasentius. Do you know where he is? Is he still hot against Vortigern? Yes, but they say he's gone to make his peace with Hengist. He'll never join Ambrosius. He wants Britain for himself. And you? I asked. What do you want? He answered quite simply, for once without any bluster or bravado. Only a place I can call my own. This, if I can. It's mine now, after all. He killed the children, did you know? I didn't, but you hardly surprise me. It's a habit of his, after all. I paused, looked Aeneas. There's a lot to say, and I've a lot to tell you. But first, I've a favour to ask you. What's that? Hospitality. There's nowhere else I know that I care to go until I've got my own place ready, and I've a fancy to stay in my grandfather's house again. He said without pretension or evasion. It's not what it was. I laughed. He's anything, as long as there's a roof against this hellish rain, and a fire to dry our clothes, and something to eat, no matter what. What do you say we send Cadel for provisions, and eat at home? I'll tell you the whole thing over a pie and a flask of wine, but I warn you, if you so much as show me a pair of dice, I'll yell for Vortigern's men myself. He grinned. relaxing suddenly. "No fear of that. Come along, then. There's a couple of rooms still habitable, and we'll find you a bed." I was given Camlack's room. It was draughty and full of dust, and Cadel refused to let me use the bedding until it had laid in front of a roaring fire for a full hour. Dinius had no servant, except one slut of a girl who looked after him, apparently in return for the privilege of sharing his bed. Cadel set her to carrying fuel and heating water while he took a message to the nunnery for my mother, and then went to the tavern for wine and provisions. We ate before the fire, with Cadel serving us. We talked late, but here it is sufficient to record that I told Dinius my story, or such parts of it as he would understand. There might have been some personal satisfaction in telling him the facts of my parentage, but until I was sure of him, and the countryside known to be clear of Vortigern's men, I thought it better to say nothing. So I told him merely how I had gone to Brittany, and that I had become Ambrosius's man. Dinius had heard enough already of my prophecy in the cavern at King's Fort to believe implicitly in Ambrosius's coming victory, so our talk ended with his promise to ride westwards in the morning with the news and summon what support he could for Ambrosius from the fringes of Wales. He would, I knew, have been afraid in any case to do other than keep that promise. Whatever the soldiers had said about the occasion there in King's Fort, it was enough to strike my simple cousin Dinius with the most profound awe of my powers. But even without that, I knew I could trust him in this. We talked till almost dawn, then I gave him money and said good night. He was gone before I woke next morning. He kept his word and joined Ambrosius later at York with a few hundred men. He was honourably received and acquitted himself well, but soon afterward, in some minor engagement, received wounds of which he later died. As for me, I never saw him again. Cadel shut the door behind him. "At least there's a good lock and a stout bar." "Are you afraid of Dinius?" I asked. "I'm afraid of everybody in this cursed town. I'll not be happy till we're quit of it and back with Ambrosius." "I doubt you need worry now. Vortigern's men have gone. You heard what Dinius said." "Aye, and I heard what you said too." He had stopped to pick up the blankets from beside the fire, and paused with his arms full of bedding, looking at me. "What did you mean you're getting your own place here ready? You're never thinking of setting up house here?" "Not a house, no." "That cave?" I smiled at his expression. "When Ambrosius has done with me, and the country is quiet, that is where I shall go. I told you, didn't I, that if you stayed with me, you'd live far from home?" "We were talking about dying as far as I remember. You mean live there?" "I don't know, perhaps not. But I think I shall need a place where I can be alone. Away, aside from things happening. Thinking and planning is one side of life. Doing is another. A man cannot be doing all the time." "Tell that to Uther." "I am not Uther." "Well, it takes both sorts, as they say." He dumped the blankets on the bed. "What are you smiling at?" "Was I? Never mind, let's go to bed. We'll have to be early at the nunnery." "Did you have to bribe the old woman again?" "Old woman, nothing." He straightened. "It was a girl this time, a looker too. What I could see of her with that sack of a gown and hood over her head. Whoever puts a girl like that in a nunnery deserves—" He began to explain what they deserved, but I cut him short. "Did you find out how my mother was?" "They said she was better. The fever's gone, but she'll not rest quiet till she's seen you. You'll tell her everything now?" "Yes." "And then?" "We join Ambrosius." "Ah," he said. And when he had dragged his mattress to lie across the door, he blew out the lamp and lay down without another word to sleep. My bed was comfortable enough, and the room, derelict or no, was luxury itself after the journey, but I slept badly. In imagination I was out on the road with Ambrosius, heading for Doward. From what I had heard of Doward, reducing it would not be an easy job. I began to wonder if, after all, I had done my father a disservice in driving the High King out of his Snowdon vastness. I should have left him there, I thought, with his rotten tower, and Ambrosius would have driven him back to the sea. It was with an effort of almost surprise that I recalled my own prophecy, what I had done at Dinas Brennan. I had not done it myself. It was not I who had decided to send Vortigern fleeing out of Wales. Out of the dark, out of the wild and whirling stars, I had been told the red dragon would triumph and the white would fall. The voice that said so now in the musty dark of Camlach's room, was not my own. It was the gods. One did not lie awake looking for reasons. One obeyed and then slept. And that's the end of chapter 2.